Greetings, friends, and welcome to episode 16 of Mark's vinyl and CD collection. This video I've been wanting to do for quite a few days now. There's going to be two things focused today, as you've probably seen from the title. I'm going to be showing a couple of Grail items that I've finally picked up, albums for myself that I've been searching high and low for. And the other part of this, which is going to be the longer part of it, is going to be my tribute to Glen Tipton. As we all know, Glen Tipton announced, or Judas Priest as well announced, that Glen has been battling Parkinson's disease for the last couple of years, much to all of our surprise. None of us, I'm sure, really knew, unless you were close to him or within the band's circle. I was very surprised about this and kind of took it hard, to be honest. A lot of musicians have died over the years that have been, influential to me, that I've looked up to, like Bowie and, Lemmy, and lots of musicians who have passed away now that, it's our generation. This is going to be the time when we're going to start losing the people that we grew up with. And not that we've lost Glenn, which is great. He's still around, and hopefully he'll be around for a lot longer. But Pat Torpey just passed away from Parkinson's, so it never looks good when something like that happens. But I want to look back at some of the Priest albums that I have in my collection as a sort of tribute to Glenn, because all of his guitar playing has been absolutely stellar from the very beginning of Judas Priest right up until present day, to the last recording, which is, I believe, he has recorded on Firepower, if I'm not mistaken, which is the 2018 release that's going to be coming out soon. Being a guitar player and a songwriter, I was very influenced by Judas Priest and very influenced by Glenn. KK, I love KK, but I found he was a little bit more of the flashier side of Priest. He was more the guy who held the guitar up in the air and did all the crazy whammy bar solos and stuff like that, where I found that Glenn was more the technical player and really did some fantastic, technical solos and really good melodic solos. Again, not to downplay KK, I think KK was fantastic, and they needed that element to even things out within Judas Priest. But I think, for what it's worth, I think Glenn was a little bit more influential on me than KK. But before we get to Priest, pardon me, I still have a bit of a scratchy throat. Before we get to Priest, let me show you the 3 Grail items that I've finally gotten. Now, if you follow me on my channel, you may have seen one of these already, because I did show it on the last episode of the East-West Vinyl Analysis, but I'll show it again here for those people who didn't see that episode and who follow this show rather than the East-West Vinyl. Okay, so 2 of them are from the same band, and they are reissues. I've been looking for the originals for a long time, and every time I did find an original for sale, it was crazy expensive, prices that I wouldn't even dare consider spending for a record. But as fate had it, I walked into the record store, and they had both of these records on reissue, so I picked them both up, and I could check them off now of my list of Grails that I needed. So what are they? They are Fate's Warning. This is Perfect Symmetry. Now, this is the record, I believe, which was one of the first ones that Metal Blade went in with a major label. I'm not sure who it was. I think it was Enigma Records or one of those bigger record labels. They did a sort of joint venture before, because of Metal Blade being an independent. They only had so much distribution, I believe, at the time. And when they signed with a major, that gave them definitely a more of an avenue to get their records into more stores, into more places. So I believe this was one of the first records to have done it, and this one and their next record were the ones that were on and benefited from that sort of major label help. Now, this is one of those other fantastic releases and really show how to release a record. Look at that inner sleeve. Isn't that awesome? Metal Blade Records. And this, I believe, is on colored vinyl. Yeah. It's like a gray marble sort of deal. Let's see if I can get this right here. And this is side B. This is very much melodic prog rock, dual guitar, very much a similar style of maybe like a Dream Theater, but more guitar driven. And of course, this comes with an awesome poster. With the cover, and if you flip it around in the back, you have a poster of the group. So I think that Metal Blade really decided to go all out as far as the reissuing of this record. Here's the lyric sheet, and this is on really nice, thicker paper. It's not just some flimsy, crappy paper. So that's one of the records. One of the grails, as I may say, that I wanted very much. Great songs on here. Really some solid production as well on here. Produced by Roger Probert. And all these are remastered by Patrick Engel at Temple of Disharmony in September of 2017. There you see the hype sticker, violet blue marble vinyl. So that's record 1. Let's put them aside there. Record 2. This is the one I showed already before. This is Parallels. This is one of my favorite records of all time. This is progressive metal perfection, in my opinion. Every song on this is good. Produced by Terry Brown, who is famous for producing Rush. He took this music and gave it a sound that just totally complemented it. And it's a record that if you're a melodic metal fan, you should have this in your collection. Totally, it's just brilliant. I can't say anything more than that. It's just completely well written. This is on brown vinyl. I think they said it's brown ochre. So I guess for all you painters out there, you probably know what color that is. Again, great pressing of this. Sounds good. I've been listening to this one quite a lot since I've got it. I've had the only versions of this I had before was I had a cassette version of this for the longest time. And I then ended up finding a CD of it later. So I'm very happy to finally have it on vinyl. Here's the poster, the album cover, and again, if you flip the back, you have the band photos in there. So I have to say that I think Metal Blade did an absolutely stellar job in reissuing these albums. There's the lyric sheet. And interesting though, this record was actually recorded and mixed at Metal Blade Studios here in Mississauga, Ontario, which is not very far from here. Metal Blade being the recording studio owned by Gilmore of Triumph. So interesting that after Triumph packed up and finished, he went on for a great career of being a recording studio owner. So hats off to Gil. Now, this is the one Grail that I was also looking for high and low, could never find it anywhere. especially for a reasonable price. Finally found one on a Facebook vinyl selling site, so very happy to get it. Blue Murder, as you all know, this is the record that has John Sykes, formerly of Whitesnake, and the man, in my opinion, who is the brains behind the 1987 album. If he wasn't on that record, I doubt it would have been anywhere near as good. His guitar sound and his guitar writing, and his writing on guitar, is absolutely top notch. This is him in the middle, on his right, I guess. So let me see. So here, this guy here, where I'm pointing, is Tony Franklin on bass, and not just any bass. He plays fretless bass, and this gentleman over here is, as you probably all recognize if you're a drummer, especially, is Carmine Appice, or Carmine Appice. Great drummer, and what a sound for a three-piece. Absolutely unbelievable. And one of the early Bob Rock productions. This is before the Black Album and everything that came after it. I think the one record he did before this one was probably the Cult Sonic Temple. Here's the lyric sheet. The sound on this record is unbelievable. He has one of the best, excuse me, one of the best guitar sounds on record I've ever heard. And I'm being honest. I mean, what a rhythm guitar sound. And I know it has to do a lot with those Mesa Boogie, I think it was Mark III's he was using back in the day. And that sound just unbelievable. And if you want to talk about fantastic guitar soloing, buy this record. Or get it online or digital download or whatever. But get this record. If you're a guitar player who's into fantastic guitar playing and into just brilliant lead work, and even better, some fantastic rhythm guitar playing, get this album. Seriously. Okay, so those are some of the Grails I've knocked off of my list. So let's go now to our look at Judas Priest. From the stuff that I have. I don't have a whole ton of stuff, but again, I feel it's important for me to thank Glen for all his impressive playing. I know he's still with us, but I think his days of playing are probably numbered, so thank you, Glen, for all your work and all your writing, more importantly. So let's take a look first. This is my only 45 that I have, and this is a UK pressing 45 of Living After Midnight on side A, backed with Delivering the Goods. This is on CBS. Again, this is a British pressing. Okay, so that's my only 45 that I have. So let's take a look at the records. Now, I have two original Canadian pressings, and the rest of them are all of the new reissue that We Are Vinyl have started to release, and they are beautiful. MPO is pressing them all in France, and they sound incredible, and that's why I'm hunting them all down, and I'm going to complete a full catalog of Priest from those, because they sound really, really, really good. But the first records I do have is Sad Wings of Destiny. Now this is an original Canadian pressing, and this is not on Gull. This was put out on a record called Janus, which was distributed by GRT of Canada. There you can see very young Judas Priest. I'll show you the vinyl. Now, this is their second record, and the second one that they did with Gull Records before they went to CBS. And this record is unbelievable. I mean, every song on here is really good. Victim of Changes, The Ripper, Dreamer Deceiver. You have Tyrant and Genocide, Epitaph, and Island of Domination. I mean, if you really think about it, the live album that they put out a few years later, the Made in Japan one there, or the Japanese live album, I think pretty much most of it is this record. So that just goes to show you how strong this album was. And I mean, if you really think about it, they still do Delivering the Goods. They still throw in the Ripper here and there all the time. Well, they still throw it in there here and there. But yeah, it's a great record. Love that album cover. Again, Canadian pressing on the Janus label. Now the other record that I have that's a original is Sin After Sin. So you can see the Columbia on the top here. Oh, sorry, I keep forgetting over here. Now this, again, is a Canadian pressing as well. Sinner, Diamonds and Rust. Those are really the big songs. Starbreaker as well. And Dissident Aggressor, I think, would be the big songs off of this album. Here you'll see that they've changed to Columbia. No longer on Gull. And of course, as usual, if you probably haven't already noticed, I'll be throwing up information on the screen here for further information about each record, because I don't want this to be a 40-minute video of me talking about everything. So now this record was one of the first ones that I think I actually, this is probably one of the first ones I went out and got when they started the reissuing. And here is the reissue. You can tell that the coloring is a bit different. It's a bit more solid looking. The other one looks a little bit more faded, but it is pretty faithful to the original. Now these all come in 180 gram vinyl. They come with the original sleeves that they meant for them to be on. And I love how they did the vinyl on these. You'll see they made these custom sort of labels on one side. And on the other side, they do like a picture of the cover. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. I can't stress enough how good these pressings sound. I'm not usually one to hype reissues on stuff, because I know sometimes there could be shortcuts taken. You know, people don't use the original tapes or original source material, but they've done a great job with these pressings. So I'm going to go through as many of them as I have as possible. That's one. Next one up is Stained Class, another true classic within the catalog of Judas Priest. Exciter, Better Than You, Better By You, Better Than Me, Stained Class, Invader, Saints in Hell, Beyond the Realms of Death. That to me right there, Beyond the Realms of Death, is one of Glen Tipton's high points, I think, in his career as far as guitar playing goes and soloing. If you want to hear a really fantastic Glen Tipton solo, listen to that song. There's a sleeve. And again, they did the sort of same thing with the labels. They would do that on all of them here. The info on one side. and then flip the record. And you have the album artwork on the other side. So again, out of all the ones that I own, I would say that I think that this is probably the one that's my favorite out of the ones I have right now. As I go through them, you'll see what ones I have. And there is one that I've been looking for. I saw it one time. I didn't grab it at the time because I was a little short on funds. And now I'm kind of kicking myself for not getting it because I'm having a hard time finding it again. Next is that Japanese record I was talking about, which I couldn't think of the title at the time, which is Unleashed in the East, live in Japan. Great album, great story behind this. I'm sure you guys probably heard me talk about this. I did meet Neil Kernan, who did do a lot of the work on this with them. Everybody was saying that this is another one of these live in the studio recordings. It's only live in the studio in the sense that the tapes were all recorded in Japan. The music is all live. It was the show itself. But Rob Halford's voice was completely shot in Japan. When they came back, Neil Kernan had him come to the studio, put him outside with one monitor in front, and blasted the music through it, gave him a single handheld microphone, and he re-sang the whole show live in the studio. And that's what you have here. So yes, it's not a true, authentic, 100% live album, but the music is all live from the show. And Rob, wanting to give the fans a real, authentic, live experience, just sang it live outside in the back porch, apparently, with one single microphone. Handheld. One of the, talked about live records, when you talk about live albums, this record comes up a lot, as does, Kiss Alive and, Cheap Trick, Budokan, Okay, that's that. Next, we have Killing Machine. Now, this is a record that's not my favorite by them, but this is the point where they start adapting their sort of leather look to them. And there are some great songs on here, don't get me wrong. Delivering the Goods is on here. Hellbent for Leather, obviously. Killing Machine, Take on the World. Running Wild is a great song, too. Again, this is all like very strong guitar playing by KK and Glen on these albums. If there's one thing that Judas Priest never, what's the word I'm looking for? They never sort of skimped on. They always tried to give you 110% when it came to their guitar playing, for sure. And you always got quality guitar solos and riffs from these guys all the time. Now, Judas Priest was also, in my opinion, one of the bands that fell into this sort of odd pattern where they would make one really awesome album, and then the next record would be kind of meh, then an awesome record, then meh. A good example of that, I think, would be Sin After Sin and then Stay in Class, right? And some people would even probably say this one, which I believe is 78, I think. Yeah, I believe it's 78. If not 78, then 79. Light would help. Yeah, 78. And the next record after this, I believe, is this one. And people would obviously say that British Steel is a far superior record to that one. Yeah, 1980. Now, I'm sure I don't need to remind all you people about what's on British Steel. I mean, you know, Breaking the Law, Metal Gods. I mean, this is a really, really strong record. And I believe one of the first ones to get them some sort of a gold certification. Of course, as I said, I'll be putting up information on the screen in regards to that. There's the inner sleeve. Interesting that they didn't use the image from the original, which I'm not sure if you guys realize, but I believe on the original cover of this, the hand, as he's holding the razor, there is blood coming from the fingers from holding it, and it's kind of dripping onto the blade. And I believe that they were told that that was a no-go as far as having that on the album. So I'm not sure if it did get used on certain pressings, but obviously they're not going to do it on these ones. And the last records I have, which is a incredible album, and I don't have it in the reissue, but I have a reissue of it. This is a special 30th anniversary picture disc version of Screaming for Vengeance. Take a look at the back. There's the credits. Now I'll take it out. I'm not sure if there's anything really different on the back of that picture disc, but there's only one way to find out, right? Okay, there we go. So there's the actual disc on the back. Now, I'm not big on picture discs, as I feel that they are not the best sounding things in the world. But surprisingly, this one actually sounds pretty good. I'm not going to go out and say, oh, this one sounds brilliant or anything. It's not that good sounding, but it definitely sounds a lot better than I would have expected of a picture disc. So now, of course, it doesn't want to go back in and close properly. Oh, there we go, finally. Okay. So there you have it. So that's all the records I have. Now, the record that I was talking about earlier that I was hoping to have found again, I did see it earlier and I didn't grab it, was Painkiller. It is out, and in my opinion, it is the best Judas Priest record that they ever made. It's my favorite. I think Glen not overdid, but I think he overstepped what everybody thought he could do as a guitar player at that point, and really impressed people, including myself. I thought that it was incredible. Like, it was like the man was possessed or something on guitar. So I'm sure a lot of you probably already have Painkiller in some way, whether it's a CD or cassette or whatever, or vinyl. It's a great album. I will find it and include it into my collection very soon. But that is my Priest collection. Again, my prayers and thoughts go out to Glen Tipton. I hope he holds it together for a long while still, and maybe even can write some more songs with the guys. I know that his touring days are done, but maybe he can continue to write and maybe even appear on studio records, because I feel that he's needed, especially in the writing. So keep your fingers crossed. Let's hope that he, stays strong for years to come still. And another thing that I'm going to say that might be a little, here or there, I don't know how people react to this, but I really hope that the record labels give these guys their royalties properly off of these reissues, especially Glen, who will probably need, funds for medical stuff. So I hope you guys are doing the right thing, not gypping another band off of their royalties. So I'll just leave it at that and just say that I love Judas Priest. Love you, Glenn. I hope you stay relatively strong and healthy, and give us a couple more albums of your good writing for a couple more Judas Priest records. So that's it for now, and I will be coming up soon with a Project Gemini update, so stay tuned for that. Thank you for watching, and have a good evening. Bye for now.